Nico, I read what you wrote, and I hope it's okay if I try this because figured we could pass a lot of white paper back and forth and not make too much progress. So I want to try to respond to what you wrote. Excuse me. And I want to try to, and also, I visited your site that had the Federal Reserve's video, the video on ending the Fed. I'm not exactly sure who made that, but anyway, it had a lot of, kind of standard stuff in it. So, very good of you to go to economicstability.org and take a look at the monetary reform talk that I did last April in Montpelier. And not only that, to actually recommend it as a video on your site. I was very impressed with that you would do that. The role of the government is, we're like a couple of strangers, out walking the road, and we happen to have come together here at this corner, and that's how I'm looking at it. At least I'm sort of thinking out loud, but you're asking me, where I'm going, and I'm telling you, and you're telling me, oh, you can't get there that road. And I ask you where you're going, and you tell me, and I tell you, you can't get down there on that road. So I'm stuck here on this corner. May not be going to the same end, but let's exchange some notes on where we've been, okay? Both, both. I mean, all the writers of the right, the free marketeers, they all write that the government is the complicit partner with the Federal Reserve in the destruction of our economy and our economic democracy by participating in a monopolistic cartel with those bankers. Again, all to the detriment of we the people. And I don't buy that argument. It's not that I don't recognize the role that the government plays. If you saw my video commentary that goes to Barney Frank, you'd see why I not only want to audit the Fed, I want to end the Fed, and I want Barney Frank to get out of the way. So, yeah, all governments under the system that we have now are actually victimized by the Federal Reserve, by the powers of the private bankers to create money, and therefore to control the political process. There seems to be a school of thought here that the federal government was complicit in the development of the Federal Reserve Act, the Federal Reserve fractional reserve banking system that we both abhor. Okay, really interesting how Griffin, Edward Griffin, says that it was the bankers who stole away with the Rockefeller Aldrich connection, to design the new monetary system, the new money system for the United States of America. It was the bankers that did it, The debates in the Congress were totally misleading to the Congress, So the people in the Congress, when they passed the Federal Reserve Act, My reading of the history book says they didn't know what they were doing. You know, they thought they were actually passing a public money system, the kind that I'm advocating, by the way, and not the kind of that the LaRouche and Hamiltonians are advocating, but a real public money system. So, having said that, I don't agree that the government, you know, is is into this thing because they get the power to go to the Fed and borrow money without having to raise taxes. You know, I gotta tell you, looking at the whole thing from my perspective, that's ludicrous. Okay, it's ludicrous. You know, the government has the power to create that money itself. I would see more credibility with that attack on me. Okay, because I'm advocating that the government create the money itself because it has the power. But to say that this government, you know, is complicit partner with the private banks, my God, man, you ran some of those congressional hearings. Do you think any of those Congress people have a clue what's going on with the Federal Reserve System? Do you really? They know where their bread is buttered. They know that Obama, you know, coming up, you know, gets sent to Rubin because he's the Democrats' banker, you know, and he tells them this is what you got to do. You got to do what we tell you to do, and then we get you the money. And if we don't get you the money, you don't stand a chance because the other guys will get the money. Okay, it's as simple as that. So it's the bankers that have the government by the short hairs. Okay, and when somebody got you by the short hairs, that's not collaboration. Okay, that's not complicity. That's not conspiracy. That's we the people being victimized by that grasp. And there's very little we can do about it with the present system, which is why we agree on two things we agree on. One, audit the Fed and then end it. Number two, end fractional reserve money creation. Okay? We agree about that. We should not fractional reserve create money into existence. Okay? And once we agree on that, then we have to talk about if we don't bring money into existence, what do we do? You know? Do we just let prices keep coming down until there's some magical number that gets hit bing, and then we stay there forever? Or is there some value to maintaining price stability? And I'm in favor of maintaining price stability through the government's creation of the money supply. So if the government can create the money supply, then the government can boot out the Federal Reserve bankers, right? Boot out the Federal Reserve bankers. Banks going to go back to lending real money after it has been created. There will be no money created as debt. Money will be created as money as equity. Excuse me. So that's my take on it. Okay. Now we should talk. We need to talk about how do we make sure that it's not inflationary. You know, how does inflation take away from us, and what do we need to do to make sure that the government that's there has the power to create the money, that creates the right amount of money to make it non-inflationary nor deflationary, that provides a means of exchange for the economy and the well-being of the people and the jobs that we all want, and all, etc., etc. To whatever degree we can afford to do it, given the planet's limits and the limits of the resources, the human and the physical resources and the financial resources of this country. So that's what we should be talking about. I came from that road back there, okay, and that's how I got here. But I think the real value in talking this out before we keep on going. That's just a thought, okay? Thanks for listening.